It's more clear now than ever that ever since the release of Avengers Endgame, Marvel has not really known what to do with their cinematic universe. And yes, while there has been the occasional win such as a Deadpool and Wolverine or a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it's practically undeniable at this point that the quality has gone downhill.
Welcome to the MCU, by the way. You're joining at a bit of a low point.
The studio has tried to take the story to even bigger heights, exploring the multiverse concept, a concept which can work but often lends itself to poor storytelling due to its inherent design, and has in this franchise only really been used to great effect for nostalgic purposes. Of the era of Marvel movies post-Endgame, the film that was widely regarded as being the best was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and a major reason for this was because of the tone that director James Gunn went for, a tone reminiscent of the Infinity Saga where individual characters were the priorities and setting up future installments in franchises took a backseat. A time when all the films followed a similar formula and highly accessible to general audiences, which led to their box office dominance having significant influence on the modern blockbuster. If you want to hear my in-depth analysis and all that, be sure to check out my video, The State of Cinema, the Modern Blockbuster, which dives deep into how Marvel dominated the blockbuster industry and the problems that came of Marvel dominating this industry. Anyway, back to this movie. Following the success of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, one thing became clear. For Marvel to go forward, they had to go back. Back to the basics. Enter Thunderbolts, which is easily one of the best MCU movies post-Endgame. Thunderbolts is the true return to form that the franchise has needed, and I just loved it. Let me explain. Hi all, I'm the Grinning Critic and I love talking about movies with a grin. Luckily today I can talk about what was one of my most anticipated movies of the entire year with a massive grin on my face, as this movie just really works and I'm so happy that it does. Thunderbolts has been a project that I've been a lot more excited for than most others. Simple reason for this is that I absolutely adore these superhero team-up movies where a ragtag group of misfits come to work together. The Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is one of the greatest movie trilogies of all time, and James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is my favourite DC film, period. These types of movies are just tailor-made for me. Just like those movies, Thunderbolts is stacked to the brim with a series of characters who I absolutely loved spending time with. Florence Pugh plays Yelena, who is by far the most interesting character in the movie. Something that I loved about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was the idea that it posed and what would happen to someone's relationship with others if they were trained to commit crimes on others. And I really loved how this film took this concept a step further with Yelena by showing the altercations that this has in her mental health, as well as how the death of a loved one, in her case Natasha, can further strain this, and the process that she uses to try and cope with such a loss. And what I loved about this movie was how it explores such deep themes for a blockbuster on mental health and grief and trauma, while all being very mainstream and accessible. Her father, the Red Guardian, played to perfection by David Harbour, adds a fun charm to the film, but as well as being just such a funny character, I love this Red Guardian character for what he represents. He is a hero who has lost his ways, is past his prime, and doesn't really know what to do with himself. So he spends all his time lonely watching clips of him in his heyday because he wants to relive it. He also wants for other people to relive their heyday, but he's not really sure how to do this. And this is an idea that I really loved. I love the idea of a hero who used to be in their prime and really wants to be in their prime. They want to be doing the right thing, but they're just not really sure how to. He was a very compelling character. John Walker is a character who has had great failures in his life, and no spoilers, but I loved the arc that this film gave him. Ghost was a supervillain who I felt was largely wasted in her role in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I'm so happy that she was given some more personality and a bit more of a chance to shine in this film. Bucky Barnes, once again, is a great character, and I was a big fan of his involvement in the film. But the character who really surprised me was the Bob character. I thought he'd just be some funny comedic relief, but I'm so happy that Marvel actually gave him more to do and added a lot of depth to his character. I can't really talk too much about this, as this is a spoiler, and I don't really want to get into spoilers. As for the Amanda Waller, if you will, of the team, Miss DeFontaine, I really like this character a lot more than I expected to. I thought that this character would have been a very one-note character whose arc would be fairly predictable, but I'm very happy to report that she was given a lot more sophisticated of an arc than I expected her to have, and her story went a very different direction, and I really liked that. I also really liked her assistant, Mel, who I thought was a really relatable and compelling character. She has a personal relationship with the Avengers, admiring them as a high schooler, and now having a concern over the city's safety now that none of them are around to protect the city, which I thought was a very great parallel to the MCU and its fans. A good portion of them were probably in high school when that original film came out, and spent the better part of the next decade watching these movies, and now that the main saga is over, they feel a bit lost within it. The only character who I really have issues with is Taskmaster. For whatever reason, Marvel doesn't really seem to understand how to treat this character properly, and that was a major letdown for me, as while I do enjoy the Black Widow movie more than most do, I was disappointed with how they treated the character, and I was hoping that this film would be a redemption arc. Anyway, one thing that I unexpectedly loved about this film was how meta it was. The film knows how the fans are feeling about the current MCU, and that we are so tired of all these cliches in these superhero movies, and are wanting something different out of them. And we want to know where this franchise is going, because yes, while the main saga is over and we're not as invested in it as before, it's undeniable that we fans aren't somewhat invested. I mean, 5 million people just watched them showing names and chairs for the cast of Avengers Doomsday. The movie, on the most part, is very tongue-in-cheek to a highly effective degree about approaching this matter. From a pure aesthetics perspective, this film shines. A lot of MCU movies have faced the criticism of having a grayscale look to them, where their movies look kind of like concrete because they're not properly colour graded. Well, luckily, Thunderbolts has been properly colour graded. Abstractions of different colours are used very effectively in this film as a method of carrying across poetic expressions for situations. A loss of purpose and a looming state of depression are shown in many of Florence Pugh's early scenes, with a lot of blue lighting and colour grading used to signify her sadness, which is further emphasised by fantastic makeup the filmmakers have had her wear, where she's got blue eyeliner on her face. The visuals come best into play in a surreal third act, which was totally like anything we've seen from this franchise before. And honestly, it's one of the best third acts in the entire franchise, and I love what it represented for the characters. I really loved it. And part of that's just because of how unique it is. Now, while I have been highlighting the movie's praises, I will admit that Thunderbolts does have some minor pacing issues within its first act, and although I've been praising all the characters except Taskmaster, I'll acknowledge there are some minor character issues. I would have liked to have seen the character of Ghost being fleshed out a bit more. I would have liked if they hadn't so quickly undone something that they set up with Bucky and Captain America Brave New World. All in all, I loved Thunderbolts. It's a film that has a group of characters who are fun to be around, the plot was enticing, the film was funny, and was very mainstream while tackling deep mental health themes. And after seeing the movie, I wanted to watch it again, which for me nowadays is a rarity. I'm going to give Thunderbolts an A-. Thank you so much for watching, and by the way, I'm trying to reach my goal of 300 subscribers. I haven't had many subscribers in a while, but I'm really close to achieving this milestone, and I'd like to achieve it by the end of June. And given that a lot of you guys watching this video are not subscribed to me, I'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. It would really mean something to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm the Grinning Critic, and don't forget to subscribe to me. It'll keep me grinning, that's for sure.